Hello everyone, I'm Kendall. I am a transformational life coach, and today I'm continuing in a series talking about shame. Shame demands that you hide yourself because there's an inborn sense of guilt and embarrassment, the sense that I am not enough, that I am not worthy, that I'm not good enough, and that I, who I actually am something to be ashamed of. In the next video, we'll talk about ways that we can defeat shame and overcome feelings of shame in our life and move into freedom and acceptance of all of who we are, not just parts, but all of who we actually are. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the ways that we deny shame in our lives, some of the ways that we aren't really aware that we have shame in our lives. One of the ways that we deny shame is we refuse to really feel anything. So basically, because that feeling is so hard and so heavy and so hurtful, when asked how we are or what we feel, it's just kind of nothing. And there is a nothingness there. Another way that I see is people who are feeling, say, extreme sadness or maybe extreme guilt or grief. And what happens is, in order to not feel that sense of at-faultness or that sense of guilt, they transfer that emotion into another emotion, which covers up. So maybe you're feeling actually really sad or really shameful, and you transfer that into anger. Well, I'm just angry now. And that's my defense mechanism so that I don't have to feel those softer, painful emotions of shame. Another way that we deny shame is through rigid, moral, religious rules. So your standards become so strict and you become, and this is a sad one, guys, this high-achieving standard of moral perfection that no one can accuse you. See, we don't want to be accused. If you are a shame-based person, I hate that label, but if you feel shame in your identity and you're wanting so desperately to escape shame, because shame makes you feel terrible about who you are. Shame says that you are not good, that you have to keep somehow striving or achieving or trying to earn a sense of value, a sense of worthiness in your life. And so I've seen this rigid code of behavior trying to divert their own attention, and in their mind, they're diverting the attention of others from what might be embarrassing to this special talent or this special cause, because they actually feel ashamed of something inside of themselves. And so they're trying to distract themselves from the feelings of shame instead of actually admitting it and processing it and dealing with it and defeating shame. Another way we deny shame, and I see this day and night, is transferring that shame to others. So if you are a person who is not comfortable with your own body, is not comfortable with your own expression, you might be likely to judge and be condemnational or critical towards someone who, say, is laughing loudly at the movie theater. Or maybe they want to wiggle in line and they're just kind of, "Hi, Claire." And they're just kind of moving in line and just feeling the music. And because you don't feel comfortable in your own body, because you have a sense of shame, "I don't know what she's doing. Why is she moving around like that? Well, she must be trying to get attention. Or, well, poor thing's probably insecure. She probably has daddy issues." And I see this. I see people being super critical, super judgmental of other people's freedom of self-expression, freedom of creative expression, because they don't feel secure with who they are, because they haven't accepted themselves on a deep soul level where they're rooted and they're secure and they're loving and happy with who they are. And so they begin to judge other people. They begin to accuse and condemn. So people who feel ashamed are very good at helping other people feel ashamed. That's their way of not focusing on their own shame, their own faults, their own flaws, their own imperfections, their own sense of guilt, is to sort of look at how bad that other person is. And that actually makes them feel better about themselves, sadly. And this is a coping mechanism that they're using to feel better momentarily. So yeah, you see that a lot in the church, to be honest. You see a lot of that religious spirit who hasn't accepted that they are actually innocent through Jesus Christ. They are perfect, they are righteous, they are holy, and they don't understand who they really are. And so they blame and they attack other people. I see this happen in an argument. I don't know if you guys have ever been in a toxic argument. I was in a couple of abusive relationships before I met my perfect man. We all know there's no such thing as a perfect man, but my Michael gets about as pretty darn close as you can on a humanly possible level. He's incredible in every way. I'm like tearing up. I'm just so thankful. But, people say you can't fully celebrate or appreciate the light until you've known the darkness. And so, hi, William. And so I think that that's an example of where I am so grateful for the man that's in my life. And part of that is because, I've been treated shitty. I've been in those scenarios. And so I'm so celebratory of a man that would be gentle and would be kind and would be patient and would be understanding and would be caring and would be selfless. Hi, Kelly. So what happens in the toxic argument? One of the things has to do with transferring shame. If someone knows they're in the wrong, and they don't want to feel accused, they don't want to feel attacked, they don't want to feel cornered, and nobody wants to feel those things, but ultimately they're not trusting their partner to approach them in a gentle way. So what do? Well, you send the first punch. And so it's super, super twisted, because here's one person who actually did the wrong, actually did stand the person up or misbehave, not misbehave, but, treat the other person poorly the night before or something. And see, they know what they did. They know that they're guilty of that. They know that they were at fault. They know that what they ought to do is, I'm so sorry about that, and make it right with the person and apologize. But they don't want to feel shame, and they don't want to admit it, so they're denying it. And so then what do? Is they try to find some way to twist the situation, to manipulate the scenario so that it's now the other person's fault. And this is very sick. This is a really disgusting coping mechanism. We can understand how it happens. The person's feeling ashamed. They don't want to feel that. So they transfer that. They try to accuse. But what's really sad is this person was already wronged. Person was already mistreated, and now they're being blamed, in addition to what happened to them. But you do see that a lot. Another thing that I see in our society and culture, and I have a tendency to kind of go here myself, is, so many catcalls on the street, and obviously not all men, but quite a lot of men, being kind of sexually graphic or nasty or aggressive. And so then I see a lot of women come into this really kind of angry bitch defensive thing where they're strutting in the store and they're almost masculine. And we use that as a defense mechanism where it's don't talk to me. You see this face? Don't F with me, And so I understand that, but I think that is something I want to soften it up from, because I don't want to let those people affect or adjust or control my behavior, control how I show up in the world and who I am and who I'm being. But that is a way of denying one feeling, which is insecurity, fear, vulnerability, anger, maybe hurt from past experiences, past guys, and we turn that into a defensive anger. So it's a way of refusing to feel the initial emotions, the truer emotions that you actually feel, and covering that up with this anger coat that you think is going to keep you safe and protect you and defend you. We can also deny shame through compulsive behavior. This has to do with coping mechanisms. This has to do with not wanting to feel emotions. And so we use alcohol, food, sex, work, religion, all kinds of things to avoid your shame, to avoid feeling your feelings in that and dealing with that. So let me ask you some questions, and you can answer on here, or you can message me, or you can just know this for your own self-study. Do you hold back a wide range of feelings to cover your shame? Do you allow one or two emotions to kind of replace all the other emotions? Do you ignore moral guidelines to create a feeling that you have no shame? This is another one where people don't want to admit their shame, and so they live a very shameless, reckless, rebellious lifestyle. Do you use strict moral or religious code to hide your struggle with shame? This is what I did for years. Done with it now. Hi, Revan. Done with it now. But I'm talking about standards, perfectionism, strict behavior, so that I'm not criticized, so that I'm off the hook. And so I hide under this sense of morality. I hide under my achievements. I hide under my good works. I hide under my positive attitude. I hide under my gifts and talents so that people won't actually see me. Because the lie that shame says is that if they actually knew you, if they actually saw all of what you were, they wouldn't accept you. Because who you actually are, who you fully are, is not acceptable. Ew. And the reason we believe that lie is because we weren't accepted. People actually did reject us when we showed up in our 100% authenticity, when we showed up in our fullness of expression, in our freedom, in our bravery, in our joy, in our everything that we are. Some people couldn't handle that and legitimately rejected us. And so that taught us that who we are isn't acceptable. So we've got to go back and we've got to say to ourselves, you are acceptable, and who you are is worthy of love. Like, just because those people didn't get your vibe and they didn't understand you and they didn't appreciate all that you have to offer and they couldn't acknowledge and see their beauty, maybe because of their own sense of inner shame and own sense of insecurity, low self-worth and lack of acceptance, and judgmental spirit that creates, that critical spirit that creates, trying to cope and shift their own shame onto you through judgmental things. This is such good stuff. I'm going to wrap it up here. Let me ask you two more questions. Do you project shame onto persons you are close to, such as a spouse, children, or friends? How do you do it? How do you blame those other people for your mistakes? How do you don't want to feel guilty, and so you attack and blame other people. The final question, do you engage in compulsive behavior to cover up your sense of shame? If so, what type of compulsive behavior? Some of the things I've used are alcohol, cleanliness, like getting into the compulsive OCD type. I'm not that far into it, but some of those things make me feel better, make me feel, give me the illusion that I'm in control. We're never in control. Working hard to cover up feelings, denying feelings through workaholism, food, just eating ice cream or cheese or whatever is going to give me that momentary cover up and that good feeling, blame, anger. And they do make you feel better temporarily, just like all sin has a temporary high. But when you come down from that high, you feel worse. And you actually feel more shame. Now you feel bad about the initial things you were trying to cover up. And now you feel bad about how you covered it up. And that you covered it up. And that you're not honest enough to work it out, or you're not trusting. Like, you just start to attack yourself. So guys, I'm advocating a deep sense of self-acceptance. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about ways to defeat shame. I'm going to talk about ways to kick it in its butt, move it away, say that little pointer finger can go to hell because I'm free in Jesus Christ and I celebrate all of who I am, and I have nothing to be ashamed of because there is therefore no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And I got a cool verse here. It comes from Psalm 34, verse 5. It says, those who look to him are radiant. Radiant, guys, glowing, shining, making a show, shimmering, glimmering, glittering, radiant, inner light. Those who look to him are radiant. Their faces are never covered with shame. Their faces are never covered with shame. And I got to vamp here for a second because so many people have a false perspective of God. They think that God's pointing a finger at them. They think that God's putting shame on them. And that's just not the heart of God. Jesus came into this world to take away our shame, to bring us his righteousness, to clothe us in light, to bring us hope and joy and freedom and mercy and grace through Jesus Christ, through his free gift. He doesn't want our heads to be covered. He doesn't want us to hide and cower around being less than how and who we are. He created us to shine, to be abundant, to be joyful, to be displays of his glory, to be declarations of his character, who he is, wild and holy and free and childlike and gentle. And God is not distant. He loves every single person. And it's so sad that the church and the religious model and the moralization coming down on strict behaviors, that's not God. In fact, when Jesus was on this earth, he spoke against those whitewashed tombs. He called them, whitewashed tombs. You look great on the outside. You have your little behaviors on point. But inside, you are rotting, dead filth. And you're bringing down the childlike hearts. And you're bringing down my children who, when the little children wanted to go see Jesus, Jesus was sitting there or standing. I don't know what he was doing, but he was there. And the children wanted to see Jesus. They were drawn to Jesus. And the disciples, being protective and maybe religious in that moment, said, no, children, go away. No. Jesus doesn't have time for you. Jesus is busy, children. See, Jesus is working. Jesus is being productive. Jesus is doing things. And do you know what Jesus said? He said, let the little children come to me, for such is the kingdom of heaven. See, God loves the childlike heart. He loves our pure spontaneity, our creativity, our light, our wildness, our joy. He created us who we are. For the world put filters on us, and society and social obligations decided to clamp down on us, suppress us, belittle us, diminish our shine, and make us feel small. But guys, we are not small. We are bright lights that God designed not to be hidden under a bushel, no, to be glory on a hill, cities on a hill, a bright candle, multiple candles. Each of us are a candle, not just sitting there shining, that'd be one thing, but actually to be put on a lampstand, to be on display for the glory of God, to be seen, to make a show, to rave, to boast, to shine, to be radiant. He never had hiding for us. He never had shame for us. That is not who God is. Isaiah 54:4 says, do not be afraid. You will not suffer shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth. So good. I truly love you guys. I'm literally every day up, ready to rock, fire in my belly, excited to put together these videos that I hope will bring you hope and freedom in your life. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, I encourage you to like or share this video. Also, feel free to leave your comments. I love to engage with all of you. And you can always subscribe to my channel to see more videos. Thank you so much. Hope and freedom. Bye.